All right, Chuck Wilson, New Hope Community Church. Welcome back to Connecting the Dots. And interesting, we just talked about Ezekiel 38 and what's going to happen with the attack on Israel by Russian and the Muslim allies. They're going to attack and be defeated, and the result is going to be the temple being rebuilt. That's the effect of that war that this is going to happen, and we're seeing crazy things happening in Israel. So the next few connecting the dots I do are going to be about Israel because it's hot right now. A lot of the news ignoring this, but there's a war basically starting in Israel as we speak. Israel has attacked Hezbollah, preemptive strike to try to head them off. You already heard about the earthquake and what God did, and now the Israel army, the IDF, is attacking preemptively. It could spark big things. Now it may settle down, could happen, but it could blow up, and it's sooner or later it's going to blow up. But interesting, the Red Heifer. I want to talk about the Red Heifer first of all because it has to do with that temple being rebuilt. And the Red Heifer, I'm just going to read you some of the news that's coming out about the Red Heifer. Somebody's saying, what is a Red Heifer? You're going to hear. Just listen, okay? A group of religious Israelis have been pictured practicing the ritual of the Red Heifer, which is meant to herald the building of a new Jewish temple on the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the Temple Mount. All right? According to Jewish tradition, i.e., the Bible, the foundational testament, what some people call Old Testament, we call it the foundational testament. According to Jewish tradition, the ashes of a perfectly red heifer cow are needed for the ritual purification. Wait a minute, heifer cow, that's an oxymoron. A heifer is something that hasn't had a baby yet. Once it has a baby, it's a cow. So these are actual heifers, okay? Are needed for... grew up on a farm, okay? Are needed for the ritual purification and would allow a third temple to be built in Jerusalem. That temple, says radical Jewish groups, i.e. Jews that actually believe God's word, must be constructed on the raised plateau in Jerusalem's old city known as the Temple Mount, where Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock Shrine stand today. Some believe this will herald the arrival of the Messiah and possibly even the end of the world. Yeah, those who believe the foundational and the fulfilled testament, because that's what Daniel teaches and that's what Revelation teaches. True Christians believe this very thing too. Temple worshipers are now practicing the mitzvah, religious duty of a red cow in front of the Temple Mount, which will enable the return of purity and observance of all the temple mitzvahs. In 2022, 5 red heifers arrived in Israel from a Texas ranch and are now kept in an archaeological park next to Shiloh, an illegal Israeli settlement, i.e., in biblical grounds, Israel's biblical grounds. You got to read through. You got to adjust these news articles with God's word. Near the Palestinian city of Nablus. The Temple Institute imported the heifers for the eventual purpose of using them in a ritual after many years of searching for the blemish-free cows without a stray white or black hair. Their eventual slaughter on the Mount of Olives will, according to advocates, allow Jewish people to be purified so they can perform the rites and worship on the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the Temple Mount. That's what we should be calling it, the Temple Mount. This is a prophetic miracle. The temple is going to be rebuilt. God's word teaches that, but there has to be red heifers. They have not been it's been many years since there's been one. This is a prophetic miracle. And right now, right at this very time when the temple is getting ready to be rebuilt, and it's going to be rebuilt. All right, here we go. Throughout almost 1,900 years of exile, the Jewish people yearned to return to Israel, build the third temple in Jerusalem, and restore the temple service. 3 times a day, observant Jews say, may the holy temple be rebuilt speedily and in our day. Since 1967, there's been a movement in Israel to rebuild the holy temple. However, the main obstacle is that Temple Mount is currently occupied by the Dome of the Rock. And God's going to solve this. We don't know if it's going to be a bomb. We don't know if it's going to be, Ezekiel 38 and the defeat of the Muslims. We don't know if there's going to be an earthquake, but something's going to clear that temple. Mark my words, this temple will be rebuilt. Just as the regathering of the Jewish people is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, so too is the building of the third holy temple. They were regathered, impossible miracle, the rebuilding of the temple. impossible, but it's going to happen. It's going to be a miracle. Today, many preparations for the third temple have already been begun. There are over 500 Jewish men descended from the tribe of Levi who have been trained as temple priests to fulfill their duties of worship and sacrifice in the temple. But the temple service can't begin without the red heifer. God's word states that only the red heifer can restore biblical purity needed to rebuild the temple. Then Eleazar, the priest, is to take some of the red heifer's blood on his fingers and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent meeting, Numbers 19:4. An unblemished, pure red heifer is a key ingredient to temple worship, Numbers 19:1 and 2, and verse 10. So this is vital. It's something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's biblically important, and the Jews know it. The biblical Jews know it, and the biblical Christians now know it, and it's happening. It's crazy. In fact, Hamas, when they attacked October 7th, now they're saying one of the main reasons, that reading a speech that one of the Hamas leaders gave, he said it's because of that red cow. We planned the attack. As soon as we saw the red cows coming, we knew we had to attack, which is exactly what they did. They attacked and tried to upset Israel's plans to rebuild the temple. They knew, obviously they don't know what the Bible teaches is a red heifer, and they're not farmers, obviously, but we won't go back to that again. But it's crazy. The Muslims, the Hamas knows about the red heifer. They know that the temple is being planned to be rebuilt. We know it's going to happen because it's in God's word. It's a promise, a prophetic promise in God's word, and many, many Jews know it. They're going up to the Temple Mount. Ben Gvir just took a big group up there. There's riots and people going up and arrests going on. It says several Jews who visited the site were detained by police after waving Israeli flags, kneeling or lying on the ground, singing the Israeli national anthem, which is prohibited on the Temple Mount. Jews are not allowed to pray on the site, but God said they can pray there. He said they can and will pray there. The temple will be rebuilt. That will belong to the Jewish people. It was promised to the nation of Israel. And Jesus Christ, most important, Jesus Christ will return to that very temple at the second coming. So there you have it. I got more about the Jewish nation at the next Connecting the Dots.